Hey everybody, number 43 in the Criterion collection is an adaptation of Lord of the Flies, directed by Peter Brook from the United Kingdom in 1963. It's an adaptation, and I just had a mental quandary as to, anyway, do I talk about it as an adaptation or do I have to describe the source? But maybe you haven't read the source. My life is hard. Lord of the Flies is an adaptation of a novel that I was assigned to read in middle school, I think. And I feel like that's how most people encountered it. If you aren't familiar with Lord of the Flies, the story's actually pretty simple. It is a bunch of British school children, preteens primarily. There's one or two older boys, but even they are not that much older. Are on some kind of school trip. The plane crashes, all the adults die in the crash, and basically this tribe of boys finds themselves on an uninhabited island. They try to organize and try to essentially come up with like a little form of government and rule so that they can survive and get rescued. But they are young boys, and in short, they eventually, step by step, go feral. And it gets real ugly. It gets real bad. It's pretty dark by the end. But that's essentially the story. It's the idea of what happens to these characters in a vacuum. Left on their own devices, how do they police themselves? It can also be a commentary on society, because they do try to set up rules and laws until those rules and laws don't quite fit a particular situation, and then the whole thing falls apart. It's a decent adaptation, I will say. It goes a little fast, but as I read about it, I found out why. So, they filmed 60 hours of content for this movie, and the initial rough cut of the film was 4 hours long, which they edited down. Then to get distribution in the US demanded it be cut down even more. So, yeah, there was a lot more to this that was cut down. Interestingly, and I feel like I've probably spoken against this before, but it really works in this case. And before I even get into it, let me just say that anything I dislike about filmmaking in general, there's always going to be exceptions. There are times that anything can be done well. I complain about, say, French endings, for example, because they leave you hanging and make you finish the picture in your mind. There are times even I think that's done really well, right? It's art. Everything is subjective. So I'm sure I have talked in the past about the idea of Zen filmmaking and how it pretty much never works. And that is where you take your actors, you just kind of tell them, hey, this scene is about bleh, go. And they improvise their dialogue. Every now and again, a director comes up with this idea and thinks he is groundbreaking, revolutionary, and he's going to change film forever. I did talk about this before because we encountered it with Flesh for Frankenstein and Blood of Dracula. 90% of the time, it's a terrible idea. But here, it actually works because the director basically did that with these kids. He told them, here's the point of the scene. He maybe gave them a little bit of dialogue, but it wasn't heavily scripted, and they hadn't read the book. So the kids largely improv'd the scenes, but when you're dealing with a large number of children playing a large number of children, especially when in the book and in the movie they're supposed to be unsupervised, and in filming you're not giving them strong supervision, it works. This is a good adaptation. You could watch this. I would not recommend watching this in place of reading the book for like a school report or something, because because of the speed of it and the length of it, it does miss a lot of the subtext that your teacher is going to expect you to know. But it is a decent adaptation. Apparently, these kids were basically living on an island. Like, art mimicked life pretty significantly while they were filming this, because they were isolated and filming on this island with just a film crew around. So a reporter went out to see the filming and found in between takes one kid was putting live lizards into like a fan blade, which is exactly the kind of casual childlike cruelty that features so largely in the book, because they're young enough that they don't have the fully developed sense of empathy, and so they don't really think about their actions, they just act, which is largely the driving idea behind the book. Anyway, it's a good adaptation. If you want to see a decent adaptation of Lord of the Flies, go for it. I think this was the only adaptation until about 1990 when another one came out, but this one is widely regarded to be the more accurate adaptation. Like I say, it goes fast and it glosses over some stuff, but overall, it's a good time. It's a good film. I don't know about a good time. Anyway, next up, we are going to see something. I know nothing about this. It is called The Red Shoes. It has 2 directors, which is uncommon, but we'll see it again fairly soon. Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, again from the United Kingdom, from 1948. I will also point out Lord of the Flies that we just finished is a black and white film. I'm going to start calling that out more in statistics, because I find it interesting how late we're getting still black and white films, because Wizard of Oz had color, and that one was 1939, I think. And it was one of the first movies to use color, and then 1963 we're still filming in black and white. Like, the division so far, we're at 43, and color versus black and white is like 20 versus 23. It's been very close, even more recently where I would have expected it to be color. It's just interesting how much black and white is in here, which is fine. I love a good vibrant Technicolor, I do, but black and white can be very good if it's lit well. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. I will see you guys next time. I am in the process. I have built a new computer, and I am trying to transfer all of my files and production and everything over to that new computer. So there may or may not be a slightly longer delay between this one and the next as I work on that process in my personal time. So I apologize if you're left hanging for Criterion reviews. I will see you next time.